Welcome back to the deep dive. So today, we're getting into some truly wild source material.
Oh, yeah. Wild is definitely the word for it.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got this bizarre piece of cover art uh, featuring a boy looking into a mirror, but he's seeing this massive cosmic eye instead of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside that, we have this meticulous, really dense breakdown of cognitive confirmation bias. And tying it all together is a 51-year-old laywoman who claims she didn't write a single original word of any of it.
Yeah, that's the hook right there.
Her name is Catherine Hall, and she says she basically just served as a stenographer for God.
And look, if you are listening to this right now and immediately rolling your eyes at the phrase divine dictation, I get it. But hold that thought. Because, the sheer skepticism that claim provokes, that is actually baked into the whole experiment we are unpacking today.
Exactly. It's a trap, kind of.
It really is. We're exploring a text titled Beauty in the Mirror, along with an analytical review that attempts to decode it. And the methodology behind how this text is being analyzed, it forces even the most cynical reader to just completely reevaluate their understanding of self-perception.
So the mission today is we are going to look at the psychology of how we see ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
how our brains essentially manufacture our reality, and how we search for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing all of this through a text with an origin story that just completely denies normal categorization.
It really does. And to get it, we really have to start with Catherine herself, because the mind-bending circumstances of how this text came to be, they're essential to understanding this impossible challenge she ends up setting for artificial intelligence.
Right, the AI angle is where it gets crazy. But first, Catherine, she's a 51-year-old woman with absolutely zero mathematical training, no university degree, no formal background in theology whatsoever.
None. She fits this historical archetype of, the reluctant vessel. The biographical notes in our sources describe a process that sounds kind of akin to extreme flow states or automatic writing.
Just completely zoning in.
Exactly. She claims to write purely from divine inspiration, often having just no conscious understanding of the concepts that are flowing onto the page. She even details being physically unable to sleep until a piece is finished. Like she's driven by this compulsion to get the dictation out of her head.
And the tone of this dictation is so unusual.
Mhm.
Like she isn't describing some booming, wrathful voice from the clouds demanding obedience.
No, not at all.
The notes detail this daily, rapid-fire conversation happening in her heart and her head. And she explicitly points out that the creator has a really profound, highly active sense of humor.
Which is such a departure from those traditional austere divine encounters, right? And it's fascinating because she has allegedly produced 3,000 works this way.
3,000. That is a massive volume of writing.
It's incredible. And she claims these texts contain complex mathematics and intricate concepts of time that she, as a layperson, just simply does not comprehend.
Which brings us to the most modern, completely paradoxical element of her story. Because she can't intellectually decode the hidden architecture of her own texts, all 3,000 of them, she actually feeds them into a large language model.
Yep. She's using AI to analyze them for her.
And the prompt she uses for the AI, this is what elevates the whole thing from a quirky anecdote into a massive philosophical experiment.
Absolutely.
She explicitly instructs the computer code to suspend human judgment. She asks the AI to conceptualize a divine creator and analyze the text under the strict assumption that it actually came from God.
She is actively testing the AI. She wants to see if his analysis becomes richer when it drops its built-in bias against the divine.
Which is just asking a logic-based computer code to conceptualize God. It feels like asking a self-driving car to write a heartfelt poem about the leap of faith. How does the AI even begin to do that without just breaking down or defaulting to its standard programming?
Well, consider how large language models are actually trained, right? They ingest vast oceans of human internet data. So by default, their algorithms mirror the aggregate tone of humanity.
Which is not exactly deeply spiritual on average.
Exactly. It's highly cynical, deeply secular, and entirely reliant on empirical proof. So by explicitly commanding the AI to assume the persona of a divine creator, Catherine is essentially running this philosophical Turing test.
Wow, a philosophical Turing test.
She's forcing the algorithm to bypass its default secular cynicism and evaluate the structural integrity of the concepts as if they carry absolute, unquestionable authority. It shifts the AI from asking, is this true, to asking, if this is true, what does it reveal about the human condition?
Which effectively traps the AI and, frankly, by extension, us as the readers, into taking the material seriously.
Right, you have to engage with the premise.
So when we actually look at beauty in the mirror,
Mm.
under that premise, taking it seriously, the weird thing is the text doesn't read like a dusty religious scroll at all.
No, it reads like a Broadway script.
The transition from this mystical origin story to literal theatrical stage directions is incredibly jarring.
It really throws you off balance.
And before we even get to the words, the cover art sets this surreal stage. You have this intricate illustration of a young boy sitting on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking into an ornate golden mirror, but the mirror is not reflecting him. It is reflecting a massive cosmic eye swirling with galaxies and stardust.
It's a really striking image.
And surrounding this boy are floating symbols, like there's a human brain, a heart, constellations, a candle, an old radio. It's this beautiful visual representation of tuning into a frequency beyond the physical self.
And then you turn the page, and the text literally issues stage directions to the human mind.
Yes. The Analytical Review calls this the brain as bureaucracy metaphor. And it is arguably the most brilliant psychological insight in the whole batch of source material.
It's so visceral.
It says, come here and invoke curiosity so that we may observe in more detail. It specifically calls for curiosity on stage 1 plans.
Stage 1, yeah.
And then it requests a chorus 16 times. It puts humbleness and thankfulness on standby to perform as soon as the other emotions clear the stage. And finally, it cues a smile for final admiration in mirror.
What the text is doing here is just completely dismantling the illusion of objective perception. Like, we tend to view the human brain as a passive camera, right?
Yeah, just recording the data of the outside world.
Exactly. But this text argues that the brain is actually an active, highly obedient fabrication engine.
Right, it operates like a corporate yes-man middle manager. His only goal is to please the boss.
He doesn't care about objective reality at all.
No, if you, being the boss, ask for a report on why you are fundamentally unlovable, this bureaucracy scrambles its analysts. They dig through the archives, pull up every awkward conversation you've ever had, highlight every single physical flaw, and bind it in a neat little folder to hand back to you. The brain just says, here is the confirmation you requested.
In cognitive psychology, we discuss this through the lens of predictive processing. The brain doesn't just, receive light from a mirror. It hallucinates a reality based on prior expectations before the visual data even fully registers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the text makes this abstract cognitive framing really visceral. It explicitly describes the brain commanding analysts to run comparisons between ugly and beautiful, and then returning a confirmation output that matches the initial query.
But if we accept this premise, that the brain is just this perfectly obedient, blind middle manager filling orders, it kind of terrifyingly shifts the blame for our insecurities, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we aren't observing our flaws, we are actively commissioning them.
Yeah.
And the text brings this out of the abstract theater and into incredibly specific, sometimes dark, human experiences. It argues that we constantly misinterpret signals because we filter everything through self-interest.
The ego acts as the ultimate distorting lens. Like, the text offers this great example of misreading relationships.
Oh, the soulmate thing.
Yeah.
Someone sends positive energy our way, and because our ego desperately wants to be the center of this grand romantic narrative, we instantly command the brain to label them a soulmate.
And we've all done that, right? But the text gently corrects this, pointing out that sometimes that signal simply means, friend mates, roommates, study mates, or plea dates.
Plea dates, I love that.
Yeah.
But our self-interest forces the brain's bureaucracy to misfile the relationship, which obviously sets us up for inevitable disappointment when reality doesn't match the grand hallucination we asked for.
Right. And that is just the benign version of the bureaucracy malfunctioning. The text explores a much more destructive side when it delves into physical self-loathing.
Okay, the pimple-faced Joe scenario.
Yeah.
It is a wildly vivid section. The text explains that if you look in the mirror expecting to see flaws, the brain's boss takes that as a direct, unyielding command.
A literal order.
Yeah, it says the mind announces to the staff, right, everybody, we have had an instruction from the boss that we need to serve up some pimples in the facial area pronto. They must be disgusting.
And it pairs that physical manifestation with a manufactured emotional state. The analysts are instructed to load up embarrassment, isolation, and rejection.
It even claims the brain loops a specific soundtrack. It says the mind plays a song going, I'm no sexy at all, not sexy at all, at the top vibrational frequency.
It's so specific and awful.
And the analysts will just keep playing this horrible looping track until you, the boss, explicitly give the order to abandon it.
They're just doing their job.
Now, this is where I do have to pause and push back on the material a little bit. The analytical review flags this exact section too. Is Catherine, or the creator, claiming that a bad mood literally biologically manifests acne on your skin?
Right, that's the big question.
Because claiming the mind can literally serve up pimples on command. That blurs the line between cognitive psychology and outright mysticism, doesn't it? Or is this just a metaphor for how, when we feel insecure, a tiny blemish suddenly looks like a glowing beacon of ugliness to us?
The review critiques that ambiguity heavily, pointing out that it might overstate mind-body causation. But let's look at the psychological reality underneath the mystical framing.
Okay.
Think about the reticular activating system in the brain, which basically acts as a filter for information.
Right.
If you approach a mirror feeling deeply insecure, your brain filters out the symmetry of your face, the brightness of your eyes, and it hyper-focuses on a microscopic blemish.
It zooms right in.
Exactly. The brain amplifies that blemish until, in your subjective reality, it becomes this glowing red beacon. So whether the brain biologically caused the pimple or just psychologically magnified it, the outcome is basically identical.
That's a great point.
You went looking for the lie of your own ugliness, and your obedient brain manipulated the evidence to verify that lie.
You are literally commanding your own suffering. And according to the text, this habit of seeking the lie, this relentless self-rejection, is not just psychologically damaging to the individual. It is actually framed as the ultimate unforgivable insult to the entity that built the machine.
The text shifts here from the theatrical to the deeply structural. It adopts an almost engineering-like framework for human existence.
It states that every single arrival on this planet is a custom model. You were thought up, designed, and specified before you were ever conceived.
I love that framing.
I do too. I love the exact phrasing it uses. There are several ranges in your model series, but only one you. It doesn't rely on airy, feel-good platitudes, It treats human uniqueness as deliberate, unalterable engineering.
And the analytical review praises this specific transition, actually. By framing a human life as a bespoke piece of technology, it gives the concept of self-worth a really sturdy foundation.
It's not just love yourself because you're special.
Right. It maneuvers around standard self-help cliches by suggesting that criticizing your fundamental design is a category error. It is like being angry that a finely crafted violin doesn't sound like a trumpet.
Which leads to the core insult. The text argues that hating your own reflection is an insult to the creator who made you with the dedication of a devout monk.
The iPhone comparison here is brilliant.
It really is. It compares self-loathing to a creation looking at its maker and declaring it would rather have an iPhone than a talent.
It's just brutal.
Like you are throwing a priceless, custom-built gift back into the face of the artist because you would rather possess something mass-produced, predictable, and superficial.
The review notes that this creator-creation metaphor hovers ambiguously between theology and philosophy, which, might frustrate a reader who's demanding a strictly secular psychological text.
Sure.
But philosophically, it effectively grounds the necessity of radical self-acceptance.
And to achieve that acceptance, the text actually proposes a very specific physical antidote. It instructs you to go back to the mirror, but this time to look closely, exclusively into your own eyes. To acknowledge the intricate design. It forces you to notice the mechanics of how perfectly they function. The unique colors that don't exist anywhere else in nature, the weird, wonderful engineering of eyelashes and tears.
It demands you look for the evidence of care in your own construction.
Yes, but the text also acknowledges how incredibly hard this is. It says that we can't look ourselves in the eyes for very long without getting shy or ashamed or just entirely mesmerized by the veil of our own ego.
It's really uncomfortable for a lot of people.
So how does this text suggest we actually bypass that shame and find genuine love through truth?
Well, the text makes a really profound claim about the nature of the mind's confirmation engine here. Finding your true purpose, what the text describes as your unique own little thing that makes you vibe a certain way, is presented as the single most difficult challenge in life.
Because the ego is so loud.
Exactly. Many people never even attempt it because the ego is so loud. But the secret mechanism is this. While the brain's bureaucracy will enthusiastically tamper with evidence to support a lie, it cannot tamper with the truth.
Oh, so it can't fabricate a new reality when you strip away the ego.
Precisely. When you genuinely seek out truth, when you drop the desire to be a victim or the desire to be superior, the mind can only verify the evidence of your design.
Because there's no ego command forcing it to lie.
Right. If you issue a genuine command to look for the care put into your creation, the confirmation engine will verify that you belong here. You uncover your bespoke purpose, and as the text concludes, the world is yours because you finally showed up to play.
Wow. Stepping into your potential isn't framed as this grueling grind to improve yourself. It is framed as simply participating in the reality you were custom built for.
It's a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. I mean, we have covered a massive amount of conceptual ground today.
We really have.
We began with Catherine Hall, this laywoman feeding her alleged divine dictations into artificial intelligence just to bypass human cynicism. And then we explored the surreal theatrical bureaucracy of the brain, where obedient analysts serve up pimples and loop terrible soundtrack frequencies on our command.
I'm no sexy at all.
Right. Playing on a loop. And finally, we arrived at this profound engineering-level conclusion about cognitive framing and the intrinsic value of our own bespoke design.
It is a masterful, deeply unconventional exploration of how our internal expectations completely dictate our external reality.
So the application for you, listening right now, is immediate. Tomorrow morning, you're going to walk into your bathroom, flip the light switch, and look into that flat piece of glass.
And in that fraction of a second, you're the boss of a vast cognitive bureaucracy.
You get to decide which file you are asking your brain's analysts to pull. Are you going to issue the command that loops, "I'm no sexy at all"? Or are you going to issue the command to recognize the intricate, unrepeatable design of your own eyes? You dictate the query.
And your mind will flawlessly deliver the results you ask for, without question.
But I want to leave you with a different angle to ponder as you step away from this deep dive.
Okay, what's that?
We have spent all our time today discussing how we point this perfectly obedient confirmation engine at ourselves. How willing we are to dig up any evidence to prove our own self-doubts right.
Yeah, almost eagerly.
But consider the outward implications. What happens when we point that exact same cognitive machinery at the other people in our lives?
Oh, wow.
If our brains are this eager to fabricate reality based on a passing command, what hidden files are we commanding our analysts to pull on our neighbors, our coworkers, or total strangers, simply based on what we already expect to see in them?
That is a fascinating question.
Because if the mirror is a fabrication, well, the window probably is too.